Have you ever noticed that every time that you clean a surface, somebody comes along and messes it up again? That used to frustrate me until I realized that that clear surface actually invited creativity and productivity. We're going to talk about that today as it relates to dyslexia, so stay tuned. Hi, welcome to Ask Me About Dyslexia, where I talk about dyslexia from the perspective of a teacher and a tutor and a mom. So I would love to have you as a subscriber, and if you think these videos would be helpful to somebody that you know, then please share them with them. So today we're going to be talking about having a clear mental counter space. And what I mean by that is both your physical space and your mental space. If we have clutter in our space, whether it's clutter in our mind, things that we're worried about, anxious about, disorganized about, or things in our physical space, either our workspace or our filing system, any kind of things that we're trying to work on or places that we need to get worked on, we're not going to be able to do those very effectively. People who have dyslexia often, not always, but often have a little bit of trouble or a lot of trouble with organization. And I say not all because some of my students actually are very organized. They might even have a touch of OCD, and their workspace is very neat and organized. And so not everybody struggles with this. And if they are organized, then that is actually an advantage. But everybody can learn to be organized even if they're not naturally organized. And so here are some ways that you can help your child or your student to have a clean mental counter space. First, I want you to think about where they're going to be doing their work. So whether that is their desk at school or their place to do their homework at home, that place needs to be free of clutter, and it needs to have only the things that they need in order to get their work done. This means that it's a quiet place to work. They need to have whatever tools they need in order to do their work that day. So if that's pencils, pens, erasers, calculator if they're older, their planner, we're going to talk more about that in a minute, all of their books that they need, a ruler if they need that. Make sure that they have only the tools that they need there and not a lot of extra stuff. Another important aid to a clear mental counter space is actually having all of your things organized. And so with school comes a lot of paperwork, a lot of notes, tests, worksheets, and it's very important to keep those organized, especially for older students who have multiple classes and they are expected to be responsible for various pieces of material. So what I recommend, and everybody is different, but what I recommend is to have one binder. It can either be just a regular, inexpensive 3-ring binder, or it can be one of those more fancy binders where it actually zips all the way around and has lots of pockets in it. Whichever one works for you and your budget. But it needs to be something large enough that it's going to have space for a pocket folder for each subject, and then to have some space for some notebook paper in between each of those as a space to take notes. It is really helpful to have just one thing that they need to grab to take home to do homework, or one thing that they need to grab from their locker to take to class. And I would recommend having binder checks every so often, whether that's daily or weekly or every other week, to make sure that they stay organized. So I know how the day goes. You're zipping through the day, shoving stuff in there. You need to take the time at the end of each day and check if this is happening, to go and file those papers into the places where they need to go. Another thing that helps to clear the mental counter space of things that you're worried about is to make sure that your child has their assignment written down for each thing. So they need to have some specific place where that is written down every day. I would recommend either a small notebook or an actual planner where they write down every subject every day. If they have no homework, write none. If they have an assignment or a test coming up, they need to write that down. And if it becomes necessary to have the teacher go behind them and check that, then that is something that you can talk to the teachers about. And I ended up doing this with my son. I just did a video about that. It was a Confessions of a Dyslexia Mama homework edition video. So I'll put the link below to that if you haven't seen it. You see what works for us for homework. But anyways, I would recommend that you as a parent check this daily. Check to make sure that they are writing down their assignments and that they have the books that they need in their book bag coming home. Anyways, back to having a clear mental counter space is that if you are able to write those assignments down, you're not trying to hold it in your mind. I can't hold things in my mind. And it's hard for a student to keep those things in their mind. Just write it down and then that clears it from your mind. It's hard to get a student to understand this. Sometimes some of them it comes very naturally. Others of them it's going to take some time and some oversight on the part of the parent to make sure that this is done. But whatever you expect, you should inspect. That was something that they taught me in teacher school. Inspect what you expect. If you expect or an organized binder with things in their places, you need to inspect that to make sure that it's happening. If you expect assignments to be written in the planner, you need to inspect that. However often that needs to happen, it will clear the mental counter space so that work can be done more effectively. If things are not getting done, they are losing points, they are missing assignments, they are getting in trouble. All of this adds to the clutter. It creates anxiety. It just causes all kinds of problems. It's hard to learn. It's hard to catch up once you get behind. That's more clutter, more stress. So help them to have a clear mental counter space by helping them to stay organized. Another thing that needs to be regularly cleaned out and organized is the book bag. Whether you do a check nightly, weekly, monthly, I know stuff gets shoved in there, so go ahead and add that to the things that you need to check. There's probably papers in there that are supposed to be put in the binder that have just gotten shoved in there. Make sure those things get to where they need to go and involve your child in this process. They may grumble and complain, but that is going to help them to actually get it done in the future. They're going to think, oh, I don't want to go through this again. Mom's going to make me do it anyways. I might as well just put things where they belong. So we've talked about how to organize your child, whether it's their physical workspace, their paperwork, their homework assignments getting written down. We've talked about how to clear the clutter mentally. But something that is super important here is that you as a parent or as a teacher or even as a tutor needs to model this. If your child is coming home and you are scatterbrained and everything is all over the place and you don't have your act together, it's going to be very difficult for them to learn that system, an organized system. And I'm preaching to myself here as well, because I'm not always as organized as I wish that I was. But try. Clear those spaces, clear those counter spaces, and I think that you will find benefits. In addition to your child feeling more at peace and more organized and more ready to do their work, you're going to be more ready to work and to help them. So I hope that these pointers have been helpful, and that you can see the value in having a clear mental counter space by having both a physical space that is free of clutter and only the things that you need in order to work. And all of that leads into having a clean mental counter space where you are just free of anxiety and stress because you know exactly what you need to do. You know when you need to do it. You know that the tools that you need are all there and organized and ready. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.